then not only are you a Resource Global board member, but you and I have been friends for a while. But for those who don't know you, what does Fisherman Labs do?
Yeah, so we consult for technology products
Yeah.
for generally consumer companies. So we work with companies like Puma,
Yeah.
and, Walmart, and Sony, and Paramount, and things like that.
Now, are you creating web apps? Are you helping them try to figure out how to do their marketing or social media? What's your niche that you guys help them out?
Yeah, so we're actually like the makers. We call ourselves a maker studio.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of marketing is becoming increasingly experiential.
Yeah.
Meaning the way that you differentiate yourself from marketing is not just how you get the person to be there, but when the person gets there, what are they experiencing?
Yes.
So we're creating those experiences, the websites, the apps, and different things like that, so that when someone hits something, they are very engaged with that product. So, for example, we say that a lot of other agencies, they focus on acquisition. How do we get the person there? Yeah. Acquisition is becoming increasingly sort of undifferentiated because Google and Facebook are such large players. But retention and conversion, the post-acquisition experience is still a place that you can differentiate. So that's where we come in and say once the consumer hits the site, we can give them an experience that will cause them to be interested in the brand.
And the thing is, I mean, you majored in finance, you worked at Lehman Brothers, different places like that. Mostly you had a hedge fund. How did you move into this marketing space and this?
Right.
What would you say to the person who has no skills in the areas? How do you really be able to do all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think people generally pick someone to work with them based off of a relationship, ultimately, and how they and if there's like a trust there. Yeah. So I think most people that do sales, they're most focused on just selling something.
Yes.
They're not focused on creating something that works for that individual or that company.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is just creating a culture. So not just me, myself, going out and selling, but creating a culture of a company that's not just interested in selling one product, but is interested in how can we help this brand achieve its goals.
Got it. Give me an example. Like how when you make a sales call or visit a potential client, what happens during that period of time?
Totally. So I mean, we work with a lot of bigger companies, but we also work with smaller companies as well. And typically with like a startup, for example, that's just raised a decent amount of money, I typically give them very honest feedback on whether they should even be using us. So I tell them the places where we might be able to be helpful. So for example, like for a startup, we may be able to do design and do a design process for 3-4 weeks. And it's relatively affordable. If we end up doing development work, those timelines are typically 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So they're much longer timelines and it's way more expensive. And I just straight up tell them, this is probably not appropriate for the stage that you're in right now.
Got it.
So most people are going to try to sell them, we're going to be a great developer, blah, 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 blah. And they're really just interested in how they can benefit their business, but they're not interested in what's appropriate for that business.
Got it. Wow. And then now you started a new company or a new initiative too, right?
Yeah, so we're launching a new company called Common Foods.
Okay.
They can be followed on Instagram, Twitter, and things like that now already. So we're pre-product right now, meaning we're not selling product just yet.
Got it.
But the phase that we're in is that we're done with the final recipe. We're actually done with all our manufacturing already.
Now, did you create the recipe or who created it?
No, so we hired a food scientist and a chef that worked with us on a flavor that we were shooting for. Because there's one thing of just like, actually Charles and I were in the kitchen making handmade noodles with the KitchenAid. We did all that stuff ourselves so we can understand what the process is.
Got it.
But then there's a commercial process and actually getting that into something that, 80,000, we can create 80,000 units or something like that. So we're at the stage where we're doing food labeling right now. That'll be done in about 15 days, and then we'll have product in about 45 days.
Got it.
We'll start off with 80,000 units. We're going to be distributing on Amazon, obviously, specialty retail, college campuses, co-working spaces, things like that to start.
And And so, Eden, let me ask you a question. For those who are sitting there listening to you, you have a lot of great ideas. You're an entrepreneur. You're a CEO. All that other stuff. How has God wired you to be who you are? Like you're saying, okay, this is who God has made me to be. How would you integrate that into your life and how God is really how are you using that for the kingdom?
Yeah, so yeah, I think like first of all, I think I love business.
Mhm.
I love creating products and selling them.
Yeah.
So I think it could be almost anything.
Yeah.
So we've done things from real estate to the consulting work to,
Yeah.
to food to B2B software and things
Got
like
it.
that.
Got it.
Those are all like very different businesses, but they all interest me for different reasons. So
Yeah.
God's wired me to just really be interested in just the creation process.
Yes. Yeah.
Of launching something.
And that's when you realize I'm good at creating things.
I would say like I think I'm pretty decent at sort of coming up with a concept and then seeing it to launch.
Yeah.
I think scaling something from sort of 10 million to 50 to 100 million, I think I struggle with that.
Got it.
And I think there's definitely people that are way better than me at operational excellence.
Okay.
So I think in terms of bootstrap, getting something off the ground very quickly, and iterating that thing, testing it, and get a product market fit, marketing it very organically from a very early stage. I'm good at those kinds of things. There's definitely things I'm not good at.
Yeah. Now, afterwards, are you still staying involved with like all your other projects? Do you still stay involved, or eventually you just sell it off and move on to the next one?
No, I think I'm still involved in almost all the projects. I'm not full time on sort of any specific project. I think Fisherman probably takes the most time up.
Yeah. How much of time that takes in?
I probably spend maybe 30 hours a week on Fisherman.
Yeah.
And I mean, our team is like really excellent from an operational standpoint.
Yeah.
So I don't, in terms of the day-to-day sort of executing on a project, I wouldn't even be the best person for that because there's developers and designers that are better than me at actually sitting there and coding the product out or designing it out or going through the discovery process. I'm mostly good at just communicating just being honest and communicating with people what the differences are between us and somebody else and what probably people need to start out. And then I let my team sort of take it from there.
Got it. So you've been in the church world, you've been hedge fund, you've done startups, you've been in the corporate world, everything like that. What are the differences? What are some of the things you've learned from standard ministry, everything, startups?
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I was really lucky to be on staff at Reality LA, which I think I've probably heard from a lot of other people that they maybe join a church staff and they get jaded and different things like that.
Yeah.
I have the opposite experience.
Yeah.
I felt very blessed to be a part of that
Yeah.
staff.
Tim and Jeremy did. I mean, they've done a great job of creating that culture.
Yeah, it's great. I think what they present from the outside is really consistent with, the internal staff vibe as well. And then I've been part of a church plant called Epiphany Fellowship in LA, which just launched about a month ago.
And what neighborhood is it in?
So it's in South Central where we live.
Okay.
And so I've been very, very involved in that church plant as well. Pretty much like Carol and I are involved in almost every ministry there. But I think the differences, there are definitely differences. I'd say, I mean, a business ultimately is about profit and sustainability.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, if we don't generate a profit, we can't fund people's jobs.
It makes it easy. Partnerships, everything is all focused on that.
Yes. And I think, well, even Christians that get into business, I think they confuse things, and there's ways to integrate faith into your work, but you have to make a profit.
Correct. Correct.
So that's still your end goal as a business.
Yeah.
And ministries are different. Ministry is, I think sometimes an over focus on numbers in ministry can be a bad thing.
Yeah.
So they're very different in terms of the types of outcomes that they're looking for. For example, it's very hard to measure growth when it comes to a
Yeah,
church.
yeah.
Because you could be a very healthy church, but from a
Correct,
number standpoint,
correct.
so I think actually the skill sets are different.
Yeah.
I think a pastor that's numbers focused can be very destructive.
Yeah.
But a business that's numbers focused can actually be very positive.
Yes.
So,
And wouldn't you say you served in the ministry world, you've worked in church world, I've worked in church world,
yeah.
but if you have a pastor who ignores anything dealing with numbers, that's not a good thing.
Right, sure. Yeah,
And
yeah,
so a lot of times I say this, like I run the Barnabas group,
right.
I say to marketplace leaders, when you start volunteering with ministries, you can't take all your experience in the marketplace and just apply it to ministry and assume that that's what needs to be done.
Sure.
You have to understand the ministry aspect, the prayer aspect, different values they have, and a lot of times they just don't understand that.
Right. Yeah. They're definitely different. And there's some similarities, obviously,
Yes,
like
yeah.
organizational excellence and things like that. There's definitely similarities, but there's huge differences too as well. So I think you don't necessarily want the exact. I think a person that makes a great pastor doesn't necessarily make a great business person, and vice versa. There's again some leadership qualities that transfer over, but there's definitely some differences.
Hey Eden, a short time before we finish up, I mean, you've been on the board of Resource Global. We're here now at the Global Cohort Gathering in Seattle. You just finished speaking.
Yep.
What are some of the observations from even talk with the Indonesians and talk with the Kenyans, everything that you've made about Resource Global here?
Yeah, I think it's like there's a unique aspect to bringing people from different cultures in the same room.
Yeah.
Because I think in some ways we all struggle with similar problems. How do we integrate our faith into our work? How do we tell people about the gospel?
Yeah.
There's these big questions. I think whether you're from Nairobi or from Jakarta,
Yeah.
you have or from Chicago or wherever, you're going to have those similar concepts. But so I think there's a lot of ways that you can learn from the similarities, but then there's also like a lot of differences as well.
Yeah.
I don't know all those differences, but definitely can see some of them, and I think there's learnings from similarities and from differences. So I think and I think we're also just becoming an increasingly global world too as well.
Yes.
So you have to start.
Yeah.
You have to start understanding, what it means to do business in Kenya, and what it means to do business in Indonesia.
Yeah, Eden, if people want more information on you, Fisherman Labs, where can you go to find out more information on what you do?
So I'm pretty active on Twitter at just my name, Eden Chen, and then so that's that. And then our website is just fishermanlabs.com.
Okay.
And then on at least for our food company, the place that we post the most is Instagram, just because it's more visual product. So that's just Common Foods.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, even with Up Next, a lot of times one of the things that we're doing is that all of us have a different, unique story. God has led us on a story in which He weaves and shapes that story into different paths. And so a lot of times, one of the purposes that we do here is continuously learn what that story is and how God uses it for the greater good of the kingdom. So, thanks, Eden.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, and have a good day, everyone. Thanks for joining us.